welcome to Layback with Betfair. Joined by the A-team, we're back.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Layback with Betfair. What a massive weekend of racing we've got this weekend. Obviously going to Randwick and Flemington for Australian Guineas Day. I welcome in Nick Foote, Tom Haylock. How are you, lads? It was a good weekend for laying on the weekend, wasn't it?
Well, it is when we go 3 from 3. That's how we put it. I found it a little bit harder this weekend, so hopefully that means the flip side, we're finding some winners here on Layback. But exciting weekend. I mean, terrific card in Sydney. Really looking forward to a couple of the Group 1s up there, particularly the Surround Stakes. I think it's a terrific addition, and the Australian Guineas headlining the meeting at Flemington as well. Looks a tough betting day at Flemington, but hopefully we can locate some value throughout the card and find our listeners some winners.
Yeah, I'm pumped. It's going to be a good day of racing.
Are you pumped?
Yeah.
What's going on, Tommy? Talk to us.
No, it's going to be a good day. I've got a bit of an icky feeling about the races on Saturday in terms of lacking confidence with a few. I think there's a few deserved favourites, but there's a couple of negatives or just icky feelings about them, and I think it will be a good day to lay again. So we'll see how we go.
A couple of big fields. It's going to be entertaining racing no matter what. I'm really looking forward to Flemington. Let's talk about the track. It's been a weird week of weather, like very hot weather, windy as well.
Is it weird or is it just standard Melbourne? It's just standard Melbourne, isn't it?
It's sort of humid.
Standard Melbourne is
tropical.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah, very weird. What do you reckon what's gonna happen with the track? Obviously, we're on a good 4 right now. 21 degrees on Saturday, so it's going to be a good day to go to the races. Partly cloudy, the rail's out 2 metres entire. How do you reckon the track will play on Saturday, Tommy?
Fine. I think rail out 2, Flemington, good forward drains so well. We'll be on a good surface. So Sydney's the interesting one. We've got 0 to 6 millimetres forecast on the day. It's been a bit of a wet week and drying, and then you've got showers on the day. So really interesting to see what happens there. So hopefully the rain, especially with favourites like Fangirl, if the rain comes, you get 6 mil. It's going to be an interesting betting proposition. So looking forward to dissecting that. You agree, Footy?
Yeah, just the wind at Flemington. Might likely be getting a tailwind throughout those circular races from the sort of 1400. So unsure how that's going to affect backmarkers getting into the race. It could favour some on-speed runners, which is a little bit of a worry perhaps for some of the well-fancied runners later in the card, like your Riff Rockets, but we will get some time on the day to be able to identify that bias. So I'm setting up, like I always do, like I try and always do, as a fairly fair track, unless there's anything really strong in the weather predictions, which was... I don't know if that's a good segue or not to the lay bin, Karl.
You make a really interesting point, because southerly wind forecasts 20 to 30 kilometres an hour. They're the same kinds of winds that Pride of Jenny led throughout both days of the championship. So you have to monitor that. The wind does have an impact, and for whatever reason, we haven't seen a lot of southerlies at Flemington, and now we've got a couple. So yeah, it could be leaderish.
Well, just before we get into the lay bin, I do want to ask, just as punters, how much do you factor in the wind when doing your form for whenever?
Tom, you speak a fair bit about Caulfield track it's a huge influence at tracks like that, and it's horses for courses in terms of what races it is a straight race at Flemington versus circular race, and what the weather's doing. They're all things that you obviously have to factor in when it's really challenging, I think, for form analysts when you get to a show on a Thursday or you're doing your form on a Wednesday, and you even look at the weather at Sandown yesterday. We don't even know what it is on the day, so when it's forecast. So how do you do it 72 hours out? And I feel like a tactic I try and use, or a strategy I try and use, is just get a couple of backs in, or a back a lay type scenario. So horses setting up at the front and perhaps saving or making small wins for horses setting up at the back as well. And that's probably how I'm going to attack Flemington across Saturday.
Yeah, that's a good point. Caulfield's obviously impacted severely by wind. Randwick is another, so you just monitor. You have an idea of the wind and how it favours. I like headwinds down the straight because I usually look for horses with cover that have sharp turn of foot. So you just use it to your advantage. But all the big syndicates obviously take it into account as well, so they're factoring it in.
Well, it's a good segue into this week's lay bin. Footy, you're chucking Melbourne weather into the lay bin this week?
The Melbourne weather forecast. I mean, yesterday Sandown entire meeting moved to 10 a.m, which is terrific. Like, good to get on the front foot and the worst case would have been that, yes, it is 37 and we're running it in the hottest part of the day. But she's any danger of just getting a forecast right? I mean, I was wandering around outside. I played golf yesterday and I wasn't even sweating, Tom.
What did it get
through
to?
There. Well, this is the problem. Out at 6 p.m. out of nowhere.
I was going to say
6 p.m. out of nowhere hits 37.
I was going to say it was hotter.
Where was this? It was hotter at night.
Yeah, it was hotter at 7 p.m. than it was at midday yesterday. So.
If it was twilight racing, you would have had to have moved it to the AM.
Correct.
So, this is what they did really well in moving the races, but
they love sitting on the fence too.
It's hard for us to predict a winner 72 hours out, and they can't predict the weather the day before.
Too much 0 to 35 mils and all that garbage.
Yeah, cake and eat it.
The weather, shocking. Don't like it. Don't like Melbourne weather.
Groundbreaking lay-bins, by the way. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
48th edition if we put in the weather.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fine. It's always a talking point.
Yep.
Tom, but you've got something which I can't wait to hear about this.
Oh, I'm just sick of iPhones and Apple and changing chargers all the bloody time. It's absolute garbage, Footy.
Are you not happy with the new USB-C upgrade?
Oh, have they got an upgrade? Yeah, there's a surprise. I'm just sick of buying a phone and having to buy 8 different chargers, a phone glass cover, 4 different cases for it.
I'm
sick of it.
I'm putting it on the backboard because
it's good sales. And I'm putting
Hold on. I agree with Footy here. I can't wait to.
I can now charge. I'm an Apple guy. I can see you're not. I can now charge my Mac with the same charger that I can charge my phone, and that's big.
Yeah, that's good for the 3 months they keep it in.
Yeah, it's big.
Hopefully the
I don't
last
have the
change.
upgraded phone yet. I still got the old charger, but I'm sure I'll be appreciative when I upgrade at some point.
It's hopefully the last change. Hopefully we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that 8 times.
It's a very, very.
Why can't they just make mobile phones with a glass cover on it and a proper case so I don't sneeze and it breaks?
All mobile phones that just don't break.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Bring back the old Nokia.
Why do we need 8 different...
You could drop your Nokia off a 10-storey building and it wouldn't break. It'd actually work better for some reason.
Back to the Nokia.
Yeah, bring back Snake 2. Snake 2's been in the wilderness for far too long.
Yeah, bring it back.
Yeah. It's one of those vintage things that definitely could come back up. For me, I went to Icon Park last night. The beer prices... Yes. I watched the Mighty Blues take on the D's. The Blues were pretty poor, but that's not the lay bin. The lay bin is beer prices. It was just disgusting. Like... a mid-strength beer at Icon Park was $11. I remember going to watch Sam Walsh play his first ever game against Essendon at Icon Park in one of the pre-season games, and cans were $5 then. Where have we come to? That is just absolutely shocking. And they were only cans, not your big stubbies or anything like that. Does that sort of grind your gears?
It does.
Doesn't seem like you guys care. You're happy to pay the $11.
That the Australian one-dayer, I mentioned this on Reddit, it was Australian one-dayer, they were kicking people out for sculling beers. Now, footage goes global when, there's a girl in New Zealand, I think it was, or South Africa, sculling beers, and she grabbed one off her friend and sculled a drink. It's encouraged over there, but we're such a nanny state. There was 4,000 people at the G, and they kicked half of them out for sculling beers.
The cost of living is not all lost, though. I did see a man during the Collingwood-Richmond game eating an avocado with a tablespoon.
Yeah, I did see that.
Don't you cost of living me? Yeah. So avocados with a tablespoon. What happened to the pie and Coke?
Oh, yeah. Cheaper to get an avo.
Yeah, it's no more, definitely. All right, let's get stuck into Flemington, Australian Guineas Day. We're going to go to the off-the-track sprint for the 3-year-old fillies over 1,100 metres. Who wants to start with the speed? Footy, have you done the speed for this one?
Yeah, it's a good race. I like this. A couple of good little gallopers here. The likes of Moesha dropping out of what I think will be a strong form race. She will get back. Excess looks a leader. Satin and Silk, Diamond Decorator down low. Given it is a straight race, though, they tend to not go too hell for leather in these types of events. I think everyone will be in touch and have their chance. And given that map, I'm going to set up with a 2-bet play like we spoke about at the top of the show. Moesha is going to be my main play in this race, and I'm also going to make Excess a small result as well. Moesha's one that I've marked to follow on a couple of occasions from last prep, and she doesn't have that pattern in those circular races that you really want to dive into. She gets back, runs on. She was an eye-catcher first up in the Group 3 Kevin Hayes, cut back to the inside, 3.4 lengths off the likes of Estriella, and as I mentioned, that's a good form reference for this. the likes of So Glamorous ran on very well against the pattern last weekend in the Angus Armanasco too, and she was behind him, so she was behind Moesha. So the form might stack up there. I think it's a strong form reference. And then Excess is the other one. First up for Julius Sandu. 2 Cranbourne jump outs, really like the first one. Second one, she was asked for a little bit of an effort as well. Last time she raced down the straight, she was in the inferior part of the track, so I'm not saying she's not a straight tracker. I just think she was, her chances were harmed by the pattern that day. So Moesha main bet and Excess going to make a winner too.
Yeah, Excess. I thought she ticked the straight track box with that run. She proved she can handle the straight. I'm with Moesha as well. Meets Inhibitions 4 kilos better when they met in spring, and Moesha beat Inhibitions there, so that's a big positive to Moesha. I love the run, as you said, Footy of Moesha first up, charged along the inside. It wasn't a race that suited her, probably wrong part of the track too by that time. Love the run. I think she's on top for me. The other one I have to have something on. I was blown away by the win of number 7, Bonnie and Moore. That was outstanding. I know it was only chitin, but turn of foot. I went looking for the 2 horses down the straight that have the best turn of foot, and that's how I approach a lot of straight races, because they can sit up. There's a lot of speed, as you mentioned, Footy. You've got Satin and Silk out wide, and then you've got the 2 horses drawn 1 and 2 in Diamond, Decorator and Excess. Probably meet in the middle somewhere, but yeah, I've gone for the 2 horses with the dynamic turn of foot. Bonnie and Moore ran the fastest 8.642 of the day on debut at Kyneton. Can measure up here, dynamic turn of foot, as I said. So backing Moesha and Bonnie Moore.
You certainly love to find those different form lines there, and you found one at Kyneton, which is pretty sweet.
Have you seen the run? Was go and have a look at that run. That was, I can't believe how quickly she put them away.
Nice. All done with that race?
Yep.
Happy? All right. Let's move on to the $1 million English sprint for the 3-year-olds. This one over 1,200 metres. Previous winners, Benedetta and Overpass. This is going to be a very fun race to analyse, given there's 19 runners down the straight. Looking forward to it. Who is the likely leader in this one, Tom?
Yeah, 19 runners and 17 that can't win. $1 million race. Great. It's a good race. I play a lot of speed. Frawley, Rocoque, Navy King drawn inside. Ouroboros drawn wide. Karl drawn wide. Brazen Styles even in the mix. There's huge amount of speed. Again, I've gone for a back marker here. Estriella gets the cart, and I know we'll get a good form line from race 5 with Moesha there. And if Moesha comes out and wins, Estriella probably shortens. I'm backing Caballas here, and I could save Estriella. I think they're the only 2 chances, to be honest. Caballas is airborne. Beat Celestial Legend, who franked the form, won the Group 2 Hobartville on Saturday. It's elite form. Sydney form, flying this horse, peak fitness, powerful turn of foot. He'll get back, appreciate a solid speed, run on, drawn right part of the track for mine in 15 or out wide there. Estriella is the one that's drawn middle, gets that suck running behind the speed and will be there when the whips are cracking. Lazago obviously ties in as well, and that's kind of why I've lent in the way of Caballas, because Lazago does meet her 2.5 kilos better at the weights and was pretty good. Ran fastest final 200 Lazago there, so I know Estriella was probably eased down, but ties Lazago in, and that's why I've just lent the way of Caballas. Could save Estriella.
Yeah, it's a good point about Lazago being, I guess, $20 compared to where Estriella is in the market, but you're right, Estriella was eased down first up. That sectional from the 4 to the 2, she just gave Lazago a cold. So I want to be with her from that form reference, even at the price. Caballas, I'm scared of. You know, Bjorn Baker, he likes to get him prepped for this, doesn't he? He came down here a couple of years ago, won the race with Overpass. He has good success at aiming up his gallopers at these black type races at Flemington.
He goes well down the straight too.
He does. He straight
So I
races.
don't know why.
Osmosis, Overpass. Now Caballas, same syndication too. Look, back onto Estriella and her chances. She's just a gun. That was a fastly run fillies race, and look, it did set up for us somewhat in that good part of the track. That's where you wanted to be, but she got home 8.1 lengths inside the benchmark for the last 600. That was a clear career peak figure for her too. So she's well and truly furnished into her 3-year-old season. She's seen the straight before in the Capped on Teebs. That race, that run was a little inconclusive. I'm not penning her as a straight track horse by any stretch, but Estriella on top for me. I do agree with you, it's somewhat a 2-horse race, but I'll be really interested to see Racecourse backing up off that 7-day backup, because you jump, you put yourself into races, you're going to win a lot of races. So if you won for multiples, I'd be putting Rakoki in as well.
Yeah.
What did you think of the track there, that Rakoki win?
It's a good win.
It was on speed
Obviously.
track. A lot of people were talking.
Yeah.
I don't think it was probably as biased as a lot of people were saying. But just down the straight, barrier 3 was my concern there.
The track at Caulfield last week, punters have lost a little bit of trust, I think, over the past year.
And they also look for bias.
They look for
and
bias now, and they look for excuses. So I did in my review of that Caulfield meeting, that came down to tempo.
A lot of tempo base.
Particularly early. And you saw, like, as the day went on, like, even early in the card, Brave Mead running on against the pattern, so Glamorous running on against the pattern. I thought the track raced pretty well, but why the rail was in the +4 for their biggest day was second biggest day at Caulfield was beyond me. But thought it was pretty good, and Estriella for me. Let's move on.
All right, let's move on. Time for the first Group 1, the Australian Guineas. Really looking forward to this race. Some awesome winners in previous years. Legato, Haitotsu was an absolute ripper. I just want to talk about Luna Fox for a second. Obviously,
What price BSP, Karl?
are you ready for the BSP price?
301 SP, so I'm keen to hear what the BSP was.
The Betfair starting price of Luna Fox in that Australian Guineas was $440. Which is absolutely ridiculous, and his max price betting in play was $990. So a fill up for the few punters that jumped on Luna Fox. That was a great win. He actually had an awesome prep. I think he finished 3rd or 4th in the All-Star Mile next run after that. Obviously, Mystic Journey was another horse that went on to win the All-Star Mile there, but plenty to talk about here. Obviously, Riff Rocket comes out of that excellent CS Hayes race and win, which is obviously a good form line for this race. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, Riff Rocket looking to be the 9th 3-year-old to do the CS Hayes Australian Guineas double. Spencer Good Horses do it. Alligator Blood in 2020 did it. Riff Rocket's also looking to replicate the feats of Hitotsu, winning the Derby and this race. Hitotsu obviously did it first up, which is what Apulia is trying to do here, who ran 2nd in a Derby. So there's some patterns there. In terms of speed, Pendragon leads, I think, crosses Vidad, kicks up, Sunsets works over from a wide barrier as well. The couple of horses that get nice runs, including V8. So I think it'll be an okay speed without being breakneck.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the speed's going to be fairly solid. It's going to be pretty important for some of these runners, particularly the ones that are drawn out wide to go forward. So that's where the speed might come from, because whilst there's not a lot of natural speed on paper, a lot of it is drawn out, which can often mean that first part of the race can be run along a little bit until they sort of jostle and work out their positions. Riff Rocket, Tommy, he might just be a freak, Riff Rocket. So loves Flemington, 1,600 metres for a Derby winner, and I feel it was a weak Derby. I don't think he's a Derby horse. He's just was able to get there and win on class, but for him to be as dynamic as he was first up over 1,400 metres, you'd be mad to tip against Riff Rocket, I think. So first up, he's only going to improve out in trip, particularly what he's shown at Flemington, the superimposed win over 1,800. Wow. Again, different horse, but I'll be backing Riff Rocket. And I'll tell you who's some value in this race is Zip Away at an each way quote as well.
I'm fascinated by you tipping.
Yeah, $21, around $5. Had Snow Patrol's back in the autumn stakes, but just wasn't sharp enough over the 1,400. So Group 1 placed in the Northerly over 1,800. Rating suggests gets better up in trip. Will take plenty off that run. Shorter break, residual fitness, barrier 10 will push more forward in this run, given this will be the target while he's here. So I feel Zip Away is one that's really over the odds, and you can spec at an each way price, but main bet Riff Rocket, mad to be against him.
I'm disagreeing with you with Zip Away. I'd give it 0. I'd be shocked if anything from the autumn stakes. I don't think that form's great, and I know you make some good points about him improving and whatnot. You need to improve 3 lengths on Snow Patrol, let alone beating Riff Rocket, King Colorado, V8 here. So I'm risking the autumn stakes form. You summed it up really well with Riff Rocket. Clearly on top. I don't know how King Colorado beats him home on the back of that. Had more improvement to come. I know King Colorado will be better up in trip 2, but Riff Rocket, clearly the horse to beat. I can make a case for Apulia at a huge odds. Probably my best roughie. Ran really well in the derby, first up here, 1600 metres fresh. Obviously got beaten at Pipple by Riff Rocket, now a huge price here, so I know that was over a lot further, but first up, 1600 metres suits, so Totso did it as well, obviously first up. And V8 was very good behind Mr. Brightside, so I've got Riff Rocket ahead of V8 and Napoli my best roughie. I don't like much else in the race.
Blinker's first time for King Colorado. Do you think that'll have an impact at all?
I like that. That's a good gear change. Can be a bit closer potentially, and probably needs to be because his racing pattern lets him down at times. I know he led in the Cox Plate, but tailed off there.
It's providing he steps from 12 with the blinkers too. That's the other risk.
Yes, yeah, and it might be a sign that they don't think they can beat Riff Rock at home without a change. So, well, you see horses improve all the time with blinkers going on, and it could bring him into it.
Well, 7 of the last 12 winners have been last start winners going into the Australian Guineas. So it's going to be a very, very exciting race. Keen to watch that one. Now the Group 2 Blamey Stakes. Past winners, non-conformists, Inspirational Girl, 50 stars. Obviously, it's a lead-up race into the All-Star Mile. All-Star Mile winners haven't come from the Blamey Stakes though. But it is a win and you're in race, and it's a good one to talk about. Let's start with the speed with Footy. What do you think, or who do you think will have the lead in this race?
Yeah, Arail, Ayrton from 1 will be prominent in the run. Holymans, you got the likes of Cezero from out wide as well. I don't have a stack of speed mapped in the race. So they're the likely leaders, and how it's going to unfold in the early stages from the 1600 metre start. It's a hard race to assess, this one. It's one of the hardest on the day, I felt. And with that, I went looking for a couple of runners at a price. So I landed on Barclay Square as my on-topper at $13, $3.80 from an each-way perspective. And he just looks the likely improver through the Elms. So that was the race that was won by Macram, the Jimmy Star race. I think it's been put in the museum as the Jimmy Star race. 2 kilo weight.
I think it's been talked about enough.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm going to bring it back.
We've got 20 minutes after this.
Gets a 2 kilo weight swing on Macram from that particular race, and he looks to be flying. So his jump out was good. If you watch him work through the line in the Elms and after the post, he was really strong. And look, he hasn't been one of mine, Barclay Square, and I know there's probably a lot of people that have been burnt by this horse. I don't think I've tipped him before, so he's certainly not one of mine, but I feel like he's building to something. Is this the run too soon? I'm not sure, but at $13, $3.80 a place, I'm more than happy to find out.
Yeah, I like that. Let's talk about it early. An interesting or quirky stat is 6-year-olds have won the last 3 Blamey Stakes, and obviously Ayrton is a 6-year-old, and only 2 mares have won the race since 2001. 57 have contested the race, and obviously the second favourite at Tissue is looking to change that. So we'll leave the Blamey Stakes there, and just
Can I make a case for any or tip any?
I think Tom's got 8 bets in this race.
Yeah,
actually.
I do.
Sorry,
one of my best betting races of the day.
Footy, I thought Footy. Apologies, I thought Footy summed it up pretty well. Let's move on.
I did, but Tom's going to now just lose 4 bets.
Yeah, correct.
No, hit us up, Tom.
He'll hit
Keen
the lay, right?
to hear what you think.
I don't mind the way Footy approaches the race. I can see Berkeley Square is some hope, drawn well. I'm against Ayrton. I actually don't think he's that good. I was the only horse going backwards last start. There, I don't like barrier 1. I don't think he had any excuses last start. I know that the pace was solid, but he was pretty weak home. Not convinced he's ready for 1600 metres either here.
This is a different race than he's. You're referencing the CF4 form.
Yes, yeah, it's a much different race. But from the CF4 form, I'd rather be with a Tissue here second up. We've seen how good she is. She's the best horse in the race. She second to Pride of Jenny in a Empire Rose over this track and distance says enough, and then went on to win the McKinnon. Second up, 1600 metres, a much more likeable setup for her. Flemington, I like. I've got her on top. I think she's a nice horse, best horse in the race. I'm also a believer that Macram can do it again. I know it was a huge price there, but no reason to say it was a fluke. He's always shown the promise. The Hayes camp said they weren't overly surprised that they thought they had a good race in him at times, and he just hasn't produced. His last 200 metres there was 11.36. I think his split between the 6 and the 4 was at 11 flat. Outstanding run. He only got clear late. Clearly likes Flemington. I think I can be with him. And Panfield, number 10, adds interest. Former Group 1 winner overseas. Might not be ready, might not be near his best. I probably wanted to see a little bit more from his trial, but I could save on Panfield just because I don't think the field is that strong and he brings a different form. And I'm against Eton. Laying Eton, probably my lay of the day as favourite. I've got the Tissue marked favourite.
Can any of these horses go on and win an All-Star Mile?
A Tissue can.
I think a Tissue can, yep.
I don't think Berkeley Square can. I don't think this is the form reference.
No, I tend to agree.
But albeit the All-Star Mile's weak as water at the moment, so it's lacking some serious power. So a Tissue being a Flemington horse, I can certainly see why you've got a Tissue on top, but still better out to closer to 2,000, Tom?
Yeah, potentially. I don't mind the fact that there's no breakneck speed on paper either, so she can tack on and she's got a dynamic turn of foot, so she should be close enough and produce down the middle, and I just worry about the track a little bit. This is a race that if they are struggling to make ground, and you can probably risk a Tissue and she'll drift in the market, and I don't know who they'll come for because there's not a lot of speed in the race, so a tricky one. Ayrton, they might come for if it's playing leaderish and inside.
Well, we hit the middle of the show anyway, and we're going to have a chat about a few different things, but just, I mean, we talk about the All-Star Mile, and I'm keen to talk about it, not as the race itself, but the concept. Obviously, it's changed this year. There's no more voting of horses. What do you think? I mean, do you guys care, or is it something that you miss, or...?
I've been a big supporter of the All-Star Mile since its inception. I really like what they're trying to do with it. And I don't have solutions, so I'm not one for potting something if I don't have an actual case or a solution around it. It just does feel like it's really tapered off this year. I'm not sure if that's in regards to our stocks in terms of where that's at. So, you know, we're probably just missing one star horse. If we had the likes of Fangirl go, yep, I'm going to come, you could market that as Brightside Fangirl, and it's actually a mouth-watering race.
Nice, yeah.
So the fact that they're opting to stay in Sydney with Fangirl and go that traditional pathway through to the Queen Elizabeth, like, that's understandable, but you just lose that star power, you lose the marketing ability of the race. I mean, who have we dished out? I think Dom de Shoot was the latest horse that got a, got the entry into the All-Star Mile.
We've got wild cards for Mr. Brightside, Pride of Jenny, Jimmy Star, and Dom to Shoot so far. So yeah, I mean, Brightside's in there, and I reckon you put it together perfectly. Fangirl and Brightside, that's very marketable.
And Jimmy Star going under we'll talk about that race again, didn't help the chances though, did it, of this race in terms of marketing there. So, you know, if my bet gets up in terms of Berkeley Square, like, I don't think they'll even go there. They'll be looking to push him out to 2,000. So it's an interesting win and you're in concept, given the field of the blamey as well.
You got any thoughts, Tom?
Oh, you're asking me this time. That's good.
Can we move on here?
How the lemons?
No, I don't. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I don't really care. They didn't promote it very well last year with jockeys on scooters at Fed Square. That went down like a lead balloon. That a gimmick. Yeah, I don't really care. It's just another race I can bet into and hopefully find the winner.
I suppose we need to care about these things. I mean, we don't need to, but we need to be inspired by these races if they're going to pick up like the Everest or whatever it is.
They're good horses.
Well, speaking about good horses, I'm very curious to ask this question. Tell us your favourite horse of all time, or a horse that got you into punting. Which animal inspired you, Tom?
It was a grey horse when I was growing up called La Zegaletta. He won a Crystal Mile. I think it won 2 or 3 ran 2. Never ran a bad race. Big grey, white horse. Loved her. The other one, a lot of people say Northerly, but he was when I was starting, probably punting and getting into it from a betting perspective, and I backed him in a couple of Cox Plates and he didn't let me down. So he was a bulldog and I loved him.
What do you reckon, Footy?
I guess getting me into punting, like my first big win I remember was Shocking in the 2009 Melbourne Cup. That was the first time I'd landed a nice return as a punter. But I've got a couple of favourite horses. Everyone sits there and goes, oh, Black Caviar, Winks. I feel like everyone feels the same about those runners, and they're the easy response. I like the out of the square type one. So for me and a group of mates that we all really love punting, had a good punters club together, Osborne Bulls was one of the great horses that we
Huge.
absolutely
Love that.
loved. I think it was the Lynn Lithgow or one of those straight races at Flemington on perhaps Derby Day where we really sort of truckloaded him early in the week and kept going with the kitty and
Love that.
it was great, and it's like those are the things I remember about racing, and you know, and the other one as well would be Mystic Journey, just my Tasmanian connection, Oz Guineas. You speak of being a supporter of an All-Star Mile, you know, to come over here and do what she did from the Trinder stable was pretty impressive. So she's another one that's pretty close to me.
She's over in Japan now, I think, as a broodmare.
There you go. Smoking Joey was one for me that you mentioned.
Derby
Won
Day,
the last
$21.
race of Derby Day, and I had it in the quaddie, and it was my
bang.
brother's Bucks party,
Yep.
and we turned $20 into like $20 each with 4 or 5 of us on the Friday night. We got the Moonee Valley quaddie, and then I steered him into the Flemington quaddie, and we didn't have to pay anything more than $20 for the whole Bucks party.
How good's that?
We're
That's what you want, I
handing
reckon.
cash out
That's
after
exactly
we
what
got the
you
quaddie on
want, I think.
Derby Day.
$20.
Smoking
That's
Joey
2
got
beers at Icon Park, 2 minis
That's,
at
that's
Icon
right.
Park.
That's right.
I love when Tom spoke about Northerly. He's a little bit before my time getting into it, but when I was at racing.com, I did a story on Northerly and spoke to Fred Kersley, and it was one of my most favourite pieces I ever did there, because listening or talking to Fred about how much he loved Northerly and a couple of those preparations that he had the Caulfield Cup and Cox Plate preparation, and then obviously punters wanted him to go over to the Melbourne Cup and he was going to get weighted out of it. Probably would have started favourite in that race, but there's a quote that just sticks with me that Fred Kersley said, the horse had a big heart and I didn't want to break it, and Northerly was that fighting tiger, obviously. What a magnificent horse. So I love going and watching heaps of his races. Back, he's a fantastic horse. Let's move over to Randwick. Tom, talk to us about the track there. We touched on it at the start of the show. Currently a soft 5, but it's going to rain the next 3 days.
No, I think the weather's okay. Thursday, Friday, showers potentially.
A lot of wind.
Bit of wind. I think it'll dry out. I think we'll be on a good 4. They're watering it these days too, which you can get in the lab in. The fact that we're starting on soft 5s and they're not actually soft 5s and the ratings and they're watering them. It all comes down to how much rain falls on the day. If you get the 6 mil, knowing bomb, it could get 30 mil. You just don't know, but I think the track will play okay. Just monitor the wind. Rail true, so it's always hard to lead rail true with the camber, but just monitor that. Running line should be okay.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of wind around, at least more than Thursday, Friday. On Saturday, obviously if it rains, we're probably going to see a downgrade. Rails in the true position, but the first race we're going to have a look at is the Group 2 Sweet and Brace Stakes for the 2-year-old fillies. This is a race that Fireburn won a couple of years ago before going on to win that Golden Slipper, but it is an important lead up to that race. What do we think, guys? Are we keen in betting in this one?
Just before we get to that, can I talk about the boys just real quickly? Obviously, we see the return of Stormboy. I don't know if you've done the race, but
It's only Stormboy, isn't it?
he scared them all off, and it was a real ploy by Adrian Bott. We spoke to him in Sydney at our
That's
Betfair
right.
function, and they just wanted to give him a soft. Obviously, Cornwall bought into him. He's going for a packet. He'll hit everyone well, so I wouldn't doubt the fact that he's here. But we do see these horses not quite ready to go, and they can get beaten prior to their Golden Slipper. But that said, it's a weak race. I think he will win. It's a fascinating race. Let's get to the fillies. Karl, as you mentioned, and I don't think the fillies is that strong this year. I don't think there's any Fireburns here. Fireburn, hit 260s in
That's
play
right.
in a Golden Slipper after hitting the running rail. I don't think there's any Fireburns here. I've got Manal on top. I can make a case for Shadow Miraval improving. I can make a case for Fly and Extreme Diva, but jury's a little bit out on that form race. Switzerland was too good for them there. Manal on top for me, you?
Yeah, I don't have an overly high opinion of the race either. Manal on top could probably make a case for the likes of Wavebreaker as well, who maps well and was solid enough behind Lady of Camelot, which is a hot form reference. So won't be betting in the race. We'll learn a bit.
Yep.
Only one favourite has won the race in the last 10 years, and only one runner with less than $5.50 Betfair starting price. So the average Betfair starting price in that time has been $10.70. So certainly potentially a race where you can find some value. Let's talk about the Group 1 Very Elegant Stakes. It's a weight for age contest, formerly known as the Chipping Norton Stakes. Simply good horses win this race. Animo, Very Elegant, won it in 22-21. Tiakau Shark, one of my favourites, talking about favourite race horses, and obviously Winks won it a stack of times. So plenty of talking points here. We got Fangirl, best horse in Australia, I think, around the $1.55, $1.65 quote. But if we get that rain, does that spell a little bit of trouble for Fangirl, Tom?
Yeah, do I want to back a bet on a back marker at... We failed second up last campaign. Didn't get near thinking over last campaign. Do I want to back a back marker that needs firm tracks at $1.50 on a Thursday when there's showers forecast? Absolutely not. I'd be laying it now if I was forced to have a bet. If it's dry, she can win this easily. What she did first up was outstanding. Like, you don't see horses win like that very often. That was Winks-esque. She's a star, but she needs dry tracks, and
Price is king with this as well, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah.
Like, so corporates open Fangirl at $1.30. Given and Tom, given the
corporates
forecast,
can get the lobe in.
Well, they can, and then wound out to $1.55. But we sat here last week, and you have to form a price for a runner. And last week, $1.55 for Mr. Brightside was value.
100%.
And we said this, so it's not a post-race expert by any stretch. We said this, and it's his style, it's his anytime, anywhere approach. Yep. Tom makes some really good points around Fangirl. You got a back marker who's would prefer to run on top of the ground. You've got a dicey forecast. There's just too many. There's too many crosses in a column for no matter how brilliant she was first up for $1.30 out to $1.55.
She was brilliant in the Winks Stakes first up last campaign, and then Zaki and Think It Over beat her by 2 lengths second up, and then she came out 1 third up. So she's got, and Chris Waller is a little bit susceptible second up, and I didn't mention it with Riff Rocket, but that's a little icky feeling I had with Riff Rocket second up. I know this is a Group 1, and I don't love backing Chris Waller horses second up, and Fangirl was playing second up last campaign. So yeah, $1.55, no. I could potentially back her in run, and you might get a better price, but you just got to monitor conditions and track before you can sit here on a Thursday and tip $1.55 shot.
Think It Over surely is going to improve from a first up run. Would you agree?
Yes, I think the horse out of that race was Buckaroo. Fantastic run in the Apollo.
I still want to see Buckaroo get out closer to 2,000.
Yeah, barrier 1 here is tricky for Buckaroo as well. I agree. Navajo Peak. Huge odds, but he was a huge odds when he won the Chelmsford second up off a very similar run in the Winks Stakes to the Apollo. So he can run well. I haven't mentioned Lindemann. You're going to make a case for Lindemann. Just Fine's a fascinating horse as well. So it's not a race I'm keen to bet into.
Yeah, Lindemann represents one of the great place bets, I think, in this race. So horrific.
Tell us what you really think.
Horrific watch first up in the Apollo. Finishes much closer if given a chance. Looks a racehorse now, return gelded. From a map perspective, should go forward, sit outside leader. At the very worst, we'll find the 1-1.
He'll lead, surely.
Yeah.
Tim Clark
on. You'd think so. Well,
who else leads? Just Fine kicks up, maybe, but...
Never say never after that first up. Yeah. So Lindemann represents outstanding place value. You look at around 280, 290. We're more than happy to buy into a runner to win a race at that price, to finish top 3 if Fangirl's off the game. Even not, you still got 2 holes to fill. In saying that, I do have a strict policy that I can never just have a sole place bet, so there will be a small spec on the win, but yeah, I'm going to have a good place bet Lindemann in the Very Elegant Stakes.
We've got markets up on Betfair you could have a look at as well, so there might be a money make second market up on Betfair as well you can have a look at for Lindemann.
Okay. It's a good discussion. Like I said, good horses win this race, and 7 of the last 10 favourites have won, so obviously bodes well for Fangirl. She's got a good weight for the race. 8 of the last 12 winners have been second up as well. But yeah, there's certainly some really strong arguments to say that she could be a lay, especially if the rain comes. Let's move over to the Group 1 Surround Stakes. It's for the 3-year-old fillies, 1,400 metres. Footy, this is a race that you're pretty keen on. Do you want to talk us through the speed?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this race. There's some terrific runners here. Speed-wise, well, Tropical Squall, that'll be your likely leader. Autumn Ballet handed up last start, but I feel we'll push forward from barrier 4. Macarena will push across from that wide draw, as will Cristilli.
You got Macarena going forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they need to.
I think you have
push.
to from 13.
I think they need to push forward.
Yep. That's how I've sort of read the race from a speed perspective. So you think Tropical Squall will sort of lead pretty well on his own without too much pressure in the race. From a betting perspective, well, look, you've got the likes of Learning to Fly, and the light fingers has to be the key form reference, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So although Komochi won the race, Learning to Fly is the one you wanted to take out of that race, I feel, moving forward, given first up off a long break. And she's aptly named because she is learning to fly again, isn't she, after that long layoff since the Golden Slipper. So I'm not prepared to lose on her. She'll certainly be a bet in this race. If she wasn't second up off a long layoff, it'd almost be a...
Do you buy into that?
A crack. I do, yeah. That's the question mark I have over is that second up Syndrome Flat. It's not like it was a gut buster or anything first up. Beautiful ride.
It's one of the best losing rides you've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly right. So has been up since the spring as well with the 2 trials. So it's been in work.
3 trials.
3 trials.
Yeah.
So it's been in work a long time. So I do still just have reservations, and as Tom's so eloquently put it throughout the show, it's a bit of an ick. But I'm not prepared to lose on Learning to Fly.
That could be a good segment.
Yeah, a bit of an ick. The one who I feel is the forgotten filly, boys, is Arctic Glamour in this race. So SP 650 in the light fingers. She was just a touch unbalanced when the sprint went on, but she picked up late, ran the fastest last 200 metres of the entire meeting. Out to 1400 metres, second up, big ticks. She's a big price. Only query is how much pace is in the race for her. But I'm going to play Arctic Glamour and Learning to Fly, both for results.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I hate these. I love these races, but I also hate them because either a filly is just better than them and she comes out and wins all the series and whatever, or they just luck in running and they just mix results, and like we've seen it all the time. They're so even, these fillies. Learning to Fly, you mentioned second up. I think first up, owned by Coolmore, there was probably a bit more intent than a lot of people are giving them credit for. A lot of people saying there's a lot of improvement at Carmore because it was first up for such a long break, but it's Coolmore. She's a Coolmore-owned filly. Had won 3 from 4 and finished second. She had won 3 from 4 and only lost the rider in the Golden Slipper. There would have been intent there. They had 3 trials. I reckon she was there to run well then, and she was still beaten. But that said, I think there will be enough improvement to get over Komochi and that field again. I thought she was fantastic there. Drawn well. She has to be a chance. I agree. I don't want to lose if she wins the race. But I'm also looking away from that light fingers as a form reference. And I think Macarena, I'm giving Cabalas a chance in the $1 million race in Melbourne, a chance. This horse rolls forward. Tim Clark on. I think she's got more scope to improve than any others in this race off the first up run, because what she did first up, she loomed up really nicely. She ran a really quick final 6 and 400, and Cabalas just ran the faster final 200 metres, but had the run on the board. And she's a horse that I've had opinion on for a long time. She won the Tap Craig, the time honoured, and I think she can run really well. Macarena. The other one that I'm specking and don't want to lose and adds huge interest here is probably what could be the best filly in this race is Roll On High. She made Komochi look second rate down the Flemington Straight last time we saw her. She ran the fourth fastest 400 metres of the day there. I think she's a really, really smart horse. This is obvious a name. She's nominated for a TJ Smith, a Guineas, an Oaks, and a Queen of the Turf, this horse. So they've obviously got a big opinion of her. I wouldn't be surprised if she's flying down the middle when she wins. So I'm backing Macarena and Roll On High and saving Learning to Fly in this race. It's a good race.
She beat Jolly Star too, who then went on to frank the form in the 1,000 Guineas. So
exactly,
certainly I like that.
I think she's a forgotten horse.
Yep, I agree with that. Yep.
Tropical Squall is unbeaten fresh, which is interesting. It bodes well for her, and also Zardozi returns. Looking forward to seeing the prep of that horse. Obviously, won an Edward Manifold into an Oaks. which was an awesome performance in the spring.
I'll tell you how Roll on High trialled, if I could see that Pakenham jump out.
Oh, don't get me started. Seriously. I'm about to
she looked like she moved okay, but
maybe we could lend Reece Goodwin some of the equipment here in the new layback studio, and he can.
I'll pay him.
Have we got a business idea then coming?
Get out there. Don't worry, we'll sort that out.
All right.
Yeah.
You've got some time early in the morning.
Yeah, I'm not busy. It's fine. We've got plenty of time.
All right, let's go to the Group 2 Guy Walters Stakes, 1,400 metres. There's a couple of lay opinions in this race, and I'm going to go to Footy again. You're keen to potentially be against Alentia?
Yeah, I am. The race is an interesting one in terms from a speed perspective. Osbred Flirt, I think, will be the one that'll go forward. Hinged is first up. Hell Hath No Fury, kick up from 2. Alentia's 3 could box seat in this race. Look, I found it hard to find a lay this week for my lay streak. Alentia's going to be the one. I feel she's just completely below the odds. J-Mac rides the stablemate Hinged, who I feel should be much closer in the market. Last year, Hinged, first up in the Apollo, ran an Animoto half a length. So, it's not like, he's got the runs on the board, or she's got the runs on the board in comparison to a horse like Alentia, and there might be a little bit too much focus put in what occurred in the steward's room and the tragedy beaten, and I'm not sure if that's factored in, but she just looks below the price for me. Osbred Flirt, I think, will be hard to run down as well. So, my lay this week is Alentia, and that'll also be my lay streak, boys.
Yeah, Hinge beat Fangirl in that race. He gave us some criticism after the show last week, saying we agreed with each other too much, and I'm disagreeing with you just for the show.
Fair enough.
I've got Alentia first up. On top here. I think she should have won first up. She sprinted sharply. I think she hit the running rail at a time in straight and just lost a bit of momentum in the straight too. And then she got chopped out at 1,000. That's when the protest happened. I think she wins if that didn't occur too. Is it factored into her price? Possibly, but she's taking on Hinged here, who looks the biggest danger in my opinion. And Hinged just placed once in 12 months. Over 12 months ago was the last placing. She's always in the market, Hinged. Always. Like, she goes around in Group 1 races and she starts $12 and she hasn't run a placing for over 12 months. She hasn't won a race in over 2 years. She's a likeable horse because she takes up market percentage and does nothing. She's doing that here. If J-Mac wasn't on her, I think Alentia would be $1.80. So
she's got a good ratings profile first up though, Hinge.
Yeah, like she's scary. She's very scary.
She does run very well first up, and I'm not sitting here backing her, so I'm not prepared to back her because of that. What are we looking at? 733 days since her last win. So, but this has to be the easiest race she's found in some time.
100%, and that's why I'm a bit scared of her. But I wanted to see. I actually went looking for her and watched a trial, and I thought she was pretty plain there. I was surprised J-Mac jumps on, but he wasn't going to ride Alentia because Alentia's got 55 kilos of berry sticks with her. Probably got that relationship now with her. So I'm with Alentia. I think she's the horse with the fitness advantage. I think Hinge leads, and Alentia can camp off her and just get over the top late with that fitness edge. So Hinged on top. Osbred Flirt's the only other winning chance for me.
We haven't mentioned Jewess yet, and obviously she's going to go on to bigger and better things. She's not typically a horse. I mean, last prep, she probably was one of the most underrated horses of the spring. Obviously didn't get too many wins under her belt, but she was 3rd in the Caulfield Stakes, 4th in the Cox Plate, and 2nd in the Champion Stakes. And a lot of those winners or place getters went on to do some great things. But she does, according to her last prep, need a couple of runs to get into it. And obviously she didn't have great form in the trials either. And, everything about her return so far would suggest, she needs a few runs. It's not a massively strong race, so laying the place is pretty risky, but I think I'm going to make her my lay streak the top 2 places there, because I think she's quite short already in the market.
There's 9 runners in this field, Karl. What's this top 2 business, Tommy?
Yeah,
where are we at here?
I don't know. Come on, Karl.
I'm actually going quite well in the lay streak. I want to
top 3 too.
It's all about that continuity, guys.
I don't think she's here to win. Blinkers off, winkers on, 2 soft trials.
I love your angle.
I also think, and we saw that first up with the Moody horse last week, which was our lay, but she's a class horse. She also needs a good track. And if you get a good track, 1,400 metres, she's probably too far back and they out-sprint her. So, yeah, I can't see her winning, but she'll run well.
You long colours will hold her up a length as well.
Correct.
All right, last race of the episode, we're going to go to the Group 3 Liverpool City Cup. Think About It won it last year from Gravina and Bandersnatch.
Good name for a horse.
Tommy, do you want to talk us through the speed map for this one?
Yeah, it's going to be a really high pressure race. Winchat led his last couple, rolls forward from a wide barrier. Jay Ford lightweight, Caesar's Palace, handy, Coal Crusher, had that suck run behind Malkovich last start. Adds pressure. Caesar's Palace, as I mentioned, at Fearston's another one with speed. I reckon they won't go slowly here. I wanted to be against Winchat, but very scared of a leader in the last race when jockeys have had enough and they're all tired and they want to shower and they just might watch Winchat skip clear, and so that's a concern. But I did want to be against Winchat. This is a low race. I thought Coal Crusher had every chance last start. First up, had that suck run as I mentioned. Still not good enough to win there. I'm tipping New Energy here for Kieran Maher. Jason Collette, good barrier 3, fascinating horse. His jump outs in Melbourne were really good. Showed a bit of intent here. He jumped out over 1,200 metres, so 1,300 metres will be okay. He just might need a bit further, but I reckon he'll be flashing home late, so I'm speccing New Energy for Maher and Jason Collette.
This punting game's a funny one, Tommy, this form, because I've put my hat on and I've come up with the exact opposite analysis of this race, that the jockeys are going to be going hell for leather and they're keen for a shower in race 10. So you're delaying the shower. I'm speeding the shower
I just
up.
think their minds on other stuff.
Yeah,
They wanna
okay.
get home and
So I'm going to lay Winchat here, and I wanted to
I was against the
I
Winchat,
wanted
but
to find Winchat. So
Yeah.
Winchat's one I've been following and feel that he can make the step up to this black type level. But when you've got when you've drawn out wide, you've got the likes of Coal Crusher, Fearson, Caesar's Palace all inside you. He's not going to find the top like he has in his 2 starts this preparation. So he did go big. He's come in his last race in benchmark 88 level. They went 9.1 lengths inside the benchmark, but he's going to get some serious pressure up top. I don't feel he's going to be able to cross them. If he does and wins, then he's a good horse. But
isn't it funny? You went looking for Winchat and then ended up against him.
Yeah.
I went against him and ended up warming to him a little bit.
Yeah.
We both ended up in the same spot. I'm more against him than the price, especially.
Yeah, I'm going to lay him. He's too short, $4.
Yep, likeable. Speaking about laying, we're going to go to the lay streak. Last week we were 4 for 4. You both laid Autumn Angel. Pretty nice lay. Happy to watch that one. Drifted a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't find any Moody Coleman runners with nose rolls this week.
Yeah.
I think I've gone Molly Knickers into Autumn Angel, so I've had to head up.
You know what was funny? You'd like this.
Yeah.
I was sitting at Caulfield last weekend and there was a group of guys next to me. They go, I was with Miles Fitzner actually.
Yeah.
I bumped into him. I said I bumped into him, but he was actually with us. And the group next to us before Miles got there actually said, the whole SEN crew, all their tipsters have backed Autumn Angel today. And I was like, watch this, boys. It was very fun. So,
Yeah.
cop that, SEN.
They poured cold water on Autumn Angel in the pre-race too. Catherine Coleman did a pre-race.
Yeah, she did.
On .com.
Yep.
And
She just wasn't there to win.
It was music to my ears. It was
Yep.
just complete cold water poured on, better over further. Everything we said here, Tommy.
Intent is so key in races.
Yep.
And if you don't have intent to win,
Yeah.
and you're
When you're zigging back to the rail instead of zagging out to try and win the race, you know what you're there for.
Yeah.
It goes to show how important the Betfair exchange is. You can press the pink button and go from there. Well, Jackson and I laid Gold Trip. That was a little bit scary. Obviously drifted late, but
one of the runs of the race, runs of the day, probably.
yeah.
we knew that Gold Trip was going to come back. Actually, it was a little bit of a question after a pretty tough Melbourne Cup. But anyway, let's see who Jackson is laying this week.
Lay streak this week. Flemington, race 1 at number 4, Sands Doot. I think with her last 2 victories down the straight that she has been made to look a little bit more talented than what she actually is. She found the fast lane 2 back, went absolutely bolting away from her rivals down the outside, near the outside fence. And last start, that fast lane was up the inside, just with the way the wind was with the day. I think the mark will keep her pretty safe, though, with that track and trip number, and she's also claiming under the minimum allowance, which the market always loves. Happy to have both Tintuki, who is race fit with good ratings, on my side, and also the horse coming down now with the Graham Begg stable, Cinderella Days, who has jumped out very, very well at Cranbourne, and I saw her at a recent exhibition gallop at Sandown between runs a fortnight ago, and she looks very wound up to run well first up. So happy to take on race 1, number 4, Sans Doute.
So Jackson is laying Sans Doute. He's got $165 to play with there. That's going to be his liability. I'm going to be laying Jewess 2 places, as I said before. I've got $176 liability laying her. Footy, who are you laying?
Good luck, Jacko. Sans Doute, I think, she's flying at the moment. I reckon she might have shaded Imperatrice in that track gallop at Moonee Valley before the Lightning as well. It's my little spies out there.
I love your spies.
Yeah.
I love your spies.
Yeah, great spies. That's my area, Moonee Valley, so just letting you know. Yeah, I'm laying Alentia. Just looks well below the odds, and I feel the winners could come from either Hinged or Osbred Flirt in that race.
Yeah, my lay is Ayrton. Drawn barrier 1 could be warmer if it's really on speed or in fence in run, but we don't know. We're proving this. A couple of others that I'm keen to be against. One notably, our Coberson, race 2 at Randwick, number 3. Under $2 is a stupid price here. I could back Moravia to win that. Had all favours in that Dipsy Doodle. They went hell for leather, and Dipsy Doodle was just weak, and there was nothing else in the race. So, yeah, I'm against our Coberson at less than even money.
You like anything else across the weekend? I love it when you do some South
Out
Australian
wide,
form.
any Adelaide stuff?
Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to look at Adelaide just yet. 9 races was enough for layback yesterday,
Yeah.
so I'll get onto that. Tune into RSN.
Adelaide Cup maybe in a couple of weeks. It's
is.
a great day.
Yeah, we should get
Hustle of War has been taken out. Unfortunately, Sue Murphy can't get the horse to an Adelaide Cup. Yeah, it's one of my favourite days actually to go to. It's a fantastic one. But what is plans? Anyone doing anything fun? Tom, are you going to go to the races
this weekend? Because I've had a couple of big weekends in a row. One of the races yesterday, at least last Saturday, into a 30th. So that will do me for a week. So I'll chill out this week.
I want to take my wife to Phillip Island for the weekend.
Love
just a little
us.
getaway before she becomes a football widow for the next 27 weeks. So that's the plan for me.
Where are you staying there? And
Just a friend's got a little place, so a little brown paper bag deal, and we'll Airbnb that. Offline Airbnb. So that'd be nice.
Lovely.
Just in Cows on the water there.
send us a selfie if you can.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Some of the weirdest stuff of all time, isn't it?
Yeah, why do you always ask for selfie?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Tom, you send me a selfie just from home too. If that's all right.
Yeah.
Did you see myself? Did I send you the selfie of the 30th?
Yeah, it was good. What did you dress as?
It was 70s disco theme, so I had the chest out.
Harry, get this up on.
No,
yeah.
Get this up on
Please
as
don't.
overlay, please.
It was Disco Stew, I
It
believe.
was best dressed there, I reckon.
Oh,
It was a low bar.
yeah.
It's the only one to dress
You
up.
were the
I
only
reckon.
one on the panel as well, by the sounds of it. So good on you.
All right, lads, we'll leave it there. Good luck this weekend, and we'll see you next week on Layback with Betfair.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.